What's going on, horror lovers? It's May 9th. That means it's 45 years since Friday the 13th was released. Happy anniversary to Friday the 13th, one of our most beloved and iconic series, franchises, and characters, right? Jason Voorhees, who can forget him? So, what I'm talking about today is I put out a post a couple days ago because I keep seeing people talk about, discussing whether Jason actually drowned as a kid. So, as a horror fan, I just got to say, like, this is one of those things that I'm just like, how are we talking about this? How is this not common knowledge? Yes, Jason drowned as a kid. This was the whole premise and basis for the story of Friday the 13th, was that Jason drowned as a kid when he was 11 years old. And this happened in, I believe it was 1958, right? That he was supposed to have drowned as a kid. And his mother took revenge against the counselors who neglected him, and then came back to take revenge against any other counselors, would-be counselors, that would come to Camp Crystal Lake to, set up camp again. Because of her grief, because of her anger and rage, she just couldn't let it go. And she was, she has these voices in her head of her son Jason telling her to kill them and all. So that was an awesome story. It was really cool. It's a great horror, idea. And it went from there. So in part two, you have the head of the camp counselors, Paul, who tells the story about Jason, and says that, Jason supposedly drowned. And to me, this was supposed to be him trying to scare the counselors, and, kind of like, not telling them a kind of ghost story, but telling them like, oh, well, Jason actually never did drown. He saw his mother get killed and he escaped or whatever, which, if you take that literally, it makes absolutely no sense, because, again, Jason was 11 years old when he drowned. So his mother didn't start killing people until about almost 20 years later, in like the 70s, and then in 1980. So 11-year-old Jason just hung around somewhere for almost 20 years, 15 or 20 years, and his mother had no idea that he was alive or anything. It just makes no sense. But and later on in that story, Paul does tell them that, he tries to calm them down and say, like, I know it's just a story, and Jason did die. And he did. Where's the proof of that? Here it is. Once again, how did Jason Voorhees originally die? Drowned in Camp Crystal Lake. There it is. Jason Voorhees did drown. I don't know why there's confusion to this. So here's even more evidence. This right here should be the biggest piece of evidence that puts this whole thing to bed. Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller, the director and writer of the original Friday the 13th, the creators and the minds behind it, the original vision is that Jason, as a child, drowned in the lake. This was the story. And actually, Jason wasn't even supposed to be the central figure of Friday the 13th. And it was actually supposed to be an anthology type of series with different stories based around the superstitions of, the day, Friday the 13th. But nevertheless, with the popularity of the first, and with, Jason coming out at the end, which, by the way, was a dream sequence. It wasn't supposed to be literal. It was supposed to be like in Alice's head in her dream when she was on the boat. But nevertheless, the popularity of it just released this character, Jason. And which brings me to the next point, where a lot of people say, well, if Jason died as a kid, how is he, a big and grown man, now, killing people? Well, the thing is, Jason, the story around Jason becomes that he is a revenant type of figure, that he is the undead. He can't really die. He dies, but he rejuvenates and comes back. So Jason just kind of keeps going. That's why you see him with like in different stages and everything. And you see him, as he comes back, you see him with wounds that he had previously from movies before. So he just he's always coming back. He just keeps going on. He doesn't just die and stay at that stage. He's, like I said, a revenant type of figure. He's the undead, and that's his ability. That's his like power. His supernatural power is that he doesn't die. He just keeps coming back. So again, I hope this puts all the confusion behind Friday the 13th, and did Jason die, and why does he come back as a big guy and everything? yes, he did drown, and the reason he comes back, he's this revenant type of figure. But that was the original story of Friday the 13th. So again, it's May 9th, 45 years. I want to give another shout out and congratulations and happy anniversary to one of our favorite characters, one of our favorite series. It's kept horror up for so long. It's one of the staples, one of the most iconic franchises and movies in the genre and everything. And again, happy anniversary to that. Stay slashing, people. I'll talk to you next.